I think this is the E-Drum redemption arc I have been waiting for. Roland TD-316. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Project Beats. My name is Joven, and welcome back to you guys who have been with me from way back and looking for drum content. Really appreciate you guys sticking around. Big thanks to Luther Music for letting me film in store. If you're interested in anything audio, studio gear, e-drums, and whatnot, check out Luther Music, link in the description. Let's kick it off with some playing example, and of course, excuse my rubbish playing. I had a few minutes of record time because it was store hours, and also I didn't want to overstay my welcome. So that was a few sound samples I shot. But this video is really more about my thoughts about the new Roland V-Drums lineup and what it implies, at least in my opinion. So yeah, I thought I was done with e-drum content when I posted this video. Back then, the e-drum scene was lackluster, to be honest. It wasn't exciting for me for what I need specifically. You could spend tens of thousands but get the same pitfalls of playing e-drums. The feel, the sound, the response, all of that. I would argue if I had that kind of money for flagship e-drums, I would rather get a really good used drums or vintage kit, give some TLC, and spend the rest of the money soundproofing a room. For my use case, at least it didn't make sense to get flagship e-drums just for better supposed performance. It made better sense getting the Tama True Touch practice kit for my needs, and I'm really happy with it. But I keep seeing these new V-Drums on my feed lately. Of course, obviously, I got curious. Here's what I think about it from the short time I had playing and why I think this is the start of that e-drum redemption arc, if you will. Quick specs rundown. The model I tried was the Roland TD-316. Maybe not exciting for some of you guys, but hang on for a bit. This is the next step up from the most basic model in the 3 series lineup. The module is the most basic one from the new lineup, so still I think much better than previous generation. But I guess this is the more realistic choice for those of you looking for quiet practice. Now getting straight to the point. This is the most responsive, best feeling pads I've tried in a while. I had very little adjustment I needed to do to get the sound or response I want from it. Because before I always felt like I was fighting with the e-drums and a lot of compromise and sort of negotiating with the e-drums, which honestly I got really tired of doing. Even when you spend more for the fancy higher end model, it still doesn't seem fair to me. This new lineup is the least amount of resistance I felt in a while. Granted, I haven't tried e-drums in a while, and since this is the most basic model, I would expect it gets better from here, right? I think that's exciting, because at the moment, this is about what I would be willing to spend on what essentially is a fancy practice kit. You can call the drum pad sizes dinky, sure, but I just need to position them realistically, similar to how I play on my acoustic drums. So I get the same, movement with the full drums. I really couldn't care less about pad sizes. I just needed to be more reliable and consistent, more than looking like a drum. And first impression so far, I'm really happy with this one. The first time I sat and chopped it out, I went straight to, play mode. No problem solving in the beginning, no setting up threshold sensitivity, none of that. I just went straight to playing. I didn't even notice until I started thinking, wait a minute, there's no problem? Thank you. Finally, one that lets me get straight to playing. Because of course, before it was like, well, that's how it is. That's a trade-off. I have to deal with it, so on and so forth. And I never really thought it could improve. Also, you would know this, improvements on this space particularly was slow, at least in the perspective of the consumer. Partly why I quit e-drums. Anyway, here we are. Let's go through the specifics of the things I like. The new hi-hat pads on this kit, very responsive. Things I look for in a hi-hat pad: foot splash, foot checks, sensitive to drag rudiments, side sweep hits where you go like this on the hi-hat. This pad does it no problem. Even on the basic hi-hat stand, they have it on. The rest, like dynamic sensitivity, I think is on point. This should be the bare minimum for all e-drums. And this is not even the digital hi-hat. I know about those. This is not it. It's more basic than that. But it does all of what I look for really well. So I would expect that digital ones are better, right? But I had bad experience with the 14-inch digital ones before. Hopefully they improved it, right? Now going to the pads, snare and toms, the new improved pads feel really nice. The bounce is just right. Feel is good. I think I saw somewhere that this should have good positional sensing. For the snare than the most basic snare pads. I honestly did not get any of that. I didn't feel like there was positional sensing, if I'm honest. Maybe it's only available on some patch. I may be wrong, but I'm not getting that. To be fair, at this price point, I'm not really expecting it to have good positional sensing. I really don't care about that. I just want it to feel and sound good and to be reliable. The rim on this new pads is not too thick. Like before, I think this feels more realistic. This is a better design. The rim shot feels nice and it plays really well. One thing I noticed though is sometimes when I play rim clicks, snare sounds come up. Even when I'm trying to play rim click, when you play too hard, when you hit too hard, and then you trigger the snare sound. So I guess there are still limitations. That's one minor adjustment I had to do in my playing. But the rest, I hit as I would normally hit, and it would play well. The spacing on these drums was too tight. Of course, they had a lot of E-drums on display in a, crowded room. But you can fix this, of course, in your own space. Another con I had was the snare mount. It's always the snare mount that's one of my pet peeves in all of this, basic E-drum setup. In any brand basic setup, that's always going to be a problem. It just kept moving. Again, this might be user problem where you, sir, is the problem. But that was all the cons I can think of, which is good. I'm liking the direction we are heading to, Roland. Let's go. Cymbals was responsive as well. I think this is the newer, more lightweight cymbals. Feels nice to play. They move like normal cymbals, or at least very close. Of course, base model mean smaller cymbal sizes. I could use some bigger sizes with cymbals. But overall, felt really good. Bell, bow, and edge on the ride plays really well. Very accurate as far as my testing went. Mute chokes, of course, by now that should be perfect. Now, the kick, I think, deserves some proper credit. I think this is the first time I felt really good on a kick pad. This is far better on accuracy, feel, and response compared to previous generation kick pad. It's small. Again, don't really care about drum pad sizes. Maybe cymbals I could do bigger, but the drum pad I don't really care as long as they're responsive and accurate, which this kick pad is. I can play those fast doubles and it doesn't feel draining. You know what I mean when you're playing E-drums, like at some point feels like you're really tired, all your hits are being absorbed. Nothing, or at least not a lot is coming back, to help you with like rebound and the other techniques. This felt like the closest to playing acoustic kick drum. Not too bouncy, the response felt just nice, felt great playing, even with the basic kick pedal they have on display. This means you can be assured whatever technique you're working on the acoustic drums, you will be able to do here. I know there's a better Digital Snare Mark II, 18-inch ride and all of that, digital hats and so on the higher end model. But to be honest, for my use, I'd be happy with this exact model. I actually think it's important to show what they can do on the base level, right? On this model right here. If these models perform like this, then we can be assured and we can expect the higher model would do better, right? If I'm honest, I did not expect to be this impressed, but well done, Roland. If ever I go back to the market looking for an E-drums, I would seriously consider this exact model. That's about it for this video. If ever I get the chance to shoot and cover the higher end models, I'll be sure to cover it. Thanks again for watching. Do consider subscribing and see you guys in the comments and in the next project. Okay. If you're still here, then this might be for you. I just came from the Roland V-Drums event yesterday here in Singapore, presented by Michael Shack. It was my first time seeing him live, so that was really cool. I thought I'd share some notes I took down that hopefully adds value to you. I don't know when I could try and cover the other V-Drum models, so I'll just add all of these info here. 3 series module can take one digital drum pad, which you probably already know. You choose between digital hats, Digital Snare Mark II, or the digital ride. 5 and 7 series module takes 3 digital pads, and then the 7 series module takes more drum pads, plus other functional niceties. Michael was saying that this was their first time not limiting any of the sounds. So the sounds are the same across the board. The only difference will be added function. So to me, as I understand it, home use will be 3 series, of course. High-end home use, 5 series, could maybe do small clubs. And then 7 series will be for your live situation. 5 series could also do live, of course, but with limited output. The digital hi-hat apparently uses 50% processing of the module to support the varied sounds that it produces. It's very realistic from the demo that Michael did. And also maybe that's why the 3 series can only take 1 digital pad. Because I'm thinking maybe the processing is a bit slower on the 3 series. Now, the hi-hat pad, I'm assuming it's a new version or improved version of the digital hi-hat, which I'm hoping it is, because the first one I had problems way back in church. But anyway, this time you can layer different sounds to the zones. So that means on the bow, you can layer 2 different sounds if you want, and then do a different sound on the edge sound. On the demo, Michael did mini China on the edge. That was really cool to see. Another thing I saw is sort of a pitch bend type of thing using the hi-hat controller. So while he was playing on the toms, I think that was a timpani or some Asian drums, he was using pitch bend using the hi-hat controller while playing on the toms. I thought that was really cool. I haven't seen that done anywhere before in any E-drums. Now, the digital snare, I think this is the second version, or is it third now? I'm not really sure. Let's call it Mark II. Anyway, positional sensing is much more obvious here. If you want to do some type of reggae rim shot where you rim shot just the edge of the snare, you get that pingy rim shot sound on the new digital snare. Another one that he demoed was snare off. So now there's a snare throw off. That means you can quickly turn on or off snare wires. But not just that. You also get sympathetic snare buzz. You know when you're playing toms, right? Your toms sound different, or the whole drum sound different with the snare on. So when you turn off the snare wires, your toms would also sound a little bit different without that snare buzz or sympathetic snare buzz. I don't think this is the first time on an E-drums. I'm pretty sure I've seen that somewhere before, but I like the interaction between the drums that they made here. Getting back to the kick pad on the 3 series, the new pad is more dynamic, so I wasn't just imagining that the kick pad was better than before. Apparently, it responds to your playing. So we have 2 different kick techniques, right? Bury the beater and open kick technique. So when you use open kick technique, the kick drum resonates longer. If you do bury the beater technique, your kick drum will be muted a little bit with this new and improved kick pad on the 3 series. You might need some good headphones or speakers to hear the difference, but I heard that when Michael demoed that. That was really interesting, and I thought it's a great improvement on feel and response. Now, about sound. You can now get drum expansion sound with just an app. Since the modules have Wi-Fi connectivity, expansion upgrades are done with just the app. No need for computers this time. So let's say they create a DW drum patch or Yamaha drums. Whatever they release, you can now get that on your kit. I'm not sure if this will be subscription or paid, but at least they made it possible and easy to do. So I guess no need for computer and Superior Drummer 3, for the most part at least. And he mentioned that the expansion library will be actively updated. I guess that's great news. And then Michael said 3 series will be the most popular series, also in terms of sales, which I agree. You get a lot of what I call important essentials, and then you get some fancy nice to haves going up the range. It will be up to you if those upgrades are worth your money. Personally, I will stick with the TD-316 just to save, some cash, or maybe the TD-516. I really like those new kick pad and tom pads. Feels and responds better than the older VAD kit, in my opinion. Cymbals are pretty good too, better than previous generation cymbal pads in terms of response and playing feedback. The 5 series is good if you are planning to maybe upgrade to the digital snare, hats, or ride in the future. But yeah, that's about it. For real this time.